I think it always has been. When I grew up, back in my day, Monty Python's Flying Circus was on the TV. I had to go to my friend's house to watch it because my parents wouldn't have it on the telly. But no, I've always enjoyed comedy. I've always enjoyed stand-up comedy. I enjoyed books where there's not necessarily laugh out loud, but the more humour, the better. Dark humour as well, particularly. I think at least if people don't laugh out loud, they should hopefully at least be amused by things. Hopefully people will laugh out loud, but yeah.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter author podcast, where we're going to talk coffee a little bit today. It's going to come up in the conversation. We're going to be talking about a great new book that comes out tomorrow. As of the time of recording, tomorrow the book is ready for you, and you're going to fall in love with this. You're going to fall in love with this author as well. Mark is here on the show to talk about his journey as an author, and again, a great book you're going to fall in love with, especially if you love coffee, right? So, Mark, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you here.
Hi, Dave. Thanks very much for having me.
Excellent. I love the accent, but I know that you're living somewhere else right now. Where are you today?
I live in Washington, D.C. right now.
Very good. And you grew up, though, across the pond, right?
I grew up in Reading in England. Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
Excellent. So would you consider that home then? It's hard.
Yes. I suppose so. I guess. Yes.
There you go. Okay. And you grew up in an area that steeped in history, an amazing part, right, of the UK?
Well, Reading itself is not so much historic. It's kind of a dormitory town for London. It kind of grew up mostly, I guess, in the 60s. It expanded a lot in the 60s, and that's when my parents moved there. But around and about, there are a lot of historic places like Oxford and Bath. Where I went to university in Canterbury there's a lot of beautiful towns around London. Reading is not really one of the most beautiful. I've got to confess.
So if you're listening from Reading, our apologies, but yes, thank you for listening anyway. There you go. Excellent. So congratulations on the new book. This is exciting. Let's talk a little bit as well. I was reading on your website. We'll have a link for that in the show notes. But you have a very interesting kind of career as well outside of writing. Can we share a little bit about what you do? Because this is exciting.
So for at least the last 35 years, I have worked in biopharmaceuticals. So I've been developing cures and treatments for all kinds of diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, or I've worked on various different vaccines. I've worked on all kinds of things, replacement blood products. I'm currently working in gene therapy. We are developing a much-needed cure for Rett Syndrome, which is a rare disease that affects young girls, and we're trying to put a cure together to see if we can really help those very relatively few patients, but really, really desperately need unmet need.
Well, it has to be rewarding to follow the journey of coming up with a cure for these things and see that path. It's very
rewarding. Yeah, right? I think that the biggest thing for me right now, working on what we're working on, is when the clinical folks share the videos of the children, and the progress they're making. That's really something to see. That really affects you. That's quite profound.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Where did the idea and the journey of writing start for you? Because that's outside of your day job that you're doing.
So it's quite a long story. It started when I was probably around 14 or 15. I had an idea for a story that would be a treasure hunt, and it would be in a kind of a foreign land, somewhere that they had a different language to our language. So I developed the language and I developed the geography and all that, and I planned to write that book one day. So yeah, I've always kind of had the hankering to write some fiction, but this Full of Beans is my first published novel. So
It's good. And I got to ask because I already read it on your website, but your main character, Phil
yeah.
Beans, and the story behind the name, because it's such a cool story. Come on,
that's really what kicked off actually writing this book was my wife had a coffee machine, and I think there was something not quite right with it because it would constantly tell us whether the hopper was full or empty. It would tell us to fill beans. And it would just come up with that error message every time you used it. And one day we were standing there first thing in the morning making coffee, and the error message came up, and I turned to my wife and I said, wouldn't Phil Beans be a really cool name for my time traveling detective? And she just looked at me and she said, yes, it would, sweetie. Yeah. And then I turned to her and I said, now I've given him a name, I'm going to have to do it.
Right.
And that's how that happened.
Yeah. We get to name our children, and now you get to name a character. So you've created this new life. Tell us about Phil Beans. Who is Phil Beans? If you could introduce him to us on stage.
Yeah. So
how would you
Phil is a mid-30s. He's a little bit of a dilettante. He can time travel, and he set himself up as a private detective, but he doesn't do much with it. He works on divorce cases and going back in time and finding, evidence for things to help with the divorce case. And that's a nice, easy life, quite lucrative, and, he can indulge in his hobbies without working too much. So at the start of the book, Phil's a little bit at a loose end in a way. His bank account's running low, so the bank's on his back. So he decides he needs to find a new divorce case to work on. So when he contacts his friend, who's a police officer, to ask for some help, she asks for a favor in return. She asks him to help her investigate the death of his old university professor. So, of course, finding clues when you can go back in time is it's not too taxing. You just, travel back in time, see what you can see, and then, come and report back. So Phil sets off back in time to try and find out what happened to his old professor. And in the process of doing that, he kind of prevents the death happening in the first place. And then when he gets back to his own time, it turns out he's made a real mess of his own life. So then, of course, he's got to figure out what did he do? Right. And that's kind of how the story starts.
Wow. Okay. I love time travel stories. Those are really fun to read. Are they fun? Are they fun to write, or are they hard to write?
I would say it's more fun, but it's complicated because you have to keep track of so much to try not to have Phil end up somewhere that he shouldn't be. Because you've got to try and think where he is in different timelines, and it is complicated, but it's fun. And I had an enormous piece of graph paper where I drew out all his timeline and all the different locations and all the different times, and made sure that he didn't overlap with somewhere that he couldn't be.
I'm envisioning your typical police station where they have the wall with the photos of all the people, and then the string tying this person to that person. And I'm trying to imagine it kind of in that context, right? To kind of wrap it all
it was a little bit like that.
Yeah, there you go. As a writer, as a first-time writer, I'm sure you learn a bunch of things in the process of writing this book. We have authors listening to the show. Do you have any words of wisdom for them as a new author?
Well, I'm really surprised at how much there was to learn. Yeah. It's you go from just thinking you're writing a story, because I didn't really necessarily plan to publish the book. I just wanted to write the story. So you just write the story. You work out the timelines and all the, what each chapter is going to be, and you write. And then you think when you've done it, well, I need to do something with this. So I got in touch with someone who helps you find people who can critique your book. It's a guy called David Durr at Write by Night. And he put me in touch with someone who would read my book. You know, he's a bit of a sci-fi buff, and he read my book and told me exactly what was wrong with it. So it was hard to hear. You know, the first thing that was wrong was that you can't put backstory at the beginning. Nobody wants to read backstory before they care about the character. So, yeah, that was, oh, really? Oh, I thought the backstory would help them. And no, you've got to make people care about the character before they care about where they came from or what they do or what they did. So that was the first thing. That was the first big rewrite. And then I got a second person to read the rewrite, and they had a whole bunch of different comments and critiques. And one of the things I learned was that you don't realize it when you're reading a book necessarily, but in any given chapter, you don't get to know the thoughts of more than one person at a time.
Right.
If you can't say, oh, Phil did this and thought that, and then Holly did this and thought that. They call that head hopping, and it's really confusing for the reader. And he said, yeah, you've got to go through, and you can't tell me what Holly's thinking if you're already in Phil's head. You can only assume what she's thinking by her expression or how she reacts or what she says. So it's, okay. So that was another big rewrite. So there were all sorts of little things like that, you know. I like to think my grammar's pretty good, but when you actually get involved with professionals, they tear the book apart and say, yeah, this is a comma splice. No, this is whatever. Yeah. It's really there's a lot to learn because I'm a scientist. So I'm used to writing technical reports, you know, materials and methods and data and graphs and stuff. And grammar's not quite such a complicated thing. So, well, when you're writing a novel, grammar and prose and whatnot, there's a lot to learn. But it was really good fun.
Yeah, and really this is going to lead to new projects down the road, you think, now that you've done one?
So I currently have a plan to write a trilogy.
Oh, good.
This is the first book. I'm about a third of the way through drafting the second book in the series. I think there will be a third book, and then we have to see if I come up with any more ideas, whether or not. There's a fourth book gets inserted in between, because if I come up with a new idea, then maybe I can, hold off on the end of the series. We just have to see.
Was that the intent from the beginning, that you're going to write multiple books under this one story?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I feel like it's a character that has, certainly a character that you can put in different situations that has a lot more mileage than just the one story.
Okay, all right. So what else?
Obviously, with time travel, this is a little bit of a clue. Mm-hmm. Your nemesis in the first book can still be your nemesis in the next book, but further back in the past.
Okay.
So there's all sorts of fun things I think you can do with time travel, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to doing.
Are there any authors that you like to read for fun, for recreation?
So probably my favorite author is Douglas Adams, and he wrote 2.5 books, I think. So the two books he finished before he died were Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency and The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. They're both books in the same series about a detective called Dirk Gently, and they were really inspirational for me. They're just such clever, funny books, and I just loved reading them. they are a little bit more fantastical than mine, but they really were books that I just loved having discovered. And that's a little bit of the inspiration for writing the book in the first place, was wishing I could find another one of those and thinking, well, if you can't find it, go write it.
Might be yours to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When I read through your website, Mark, there's a lot of funny, entertaining things that you have on your website that make me just smile. I was just reading through going, if this is how your website is, I can't wait to talk to you. And does that carry over into the book as well? Kind of the feel of the website and everything?
I think the book is, I'm going to be honest, the book is probably written better than the website. I think the website's a little bit more informal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the same humor should be in the book as on the website.
Do you have an ideal reader for the book, age-wise, and kind of who your demographics would be for this book?
Do you know, I don't know. I think it could appeal to anyone, really. It's more, I think, if you like a detective story, or you like a little bit of sci-fi. It's nothing too complicated or fantastical. It's the time travel element is relatively straightforward in the sense that the way I've written it, you're always aware of where he is and why he's there, or when he is and why he's there. So it's not too hard to follow. I think if you can watch Back to the Future and know what's going on, then you're
good.
So I don't think I necessarily know what the demographic would be, but I think it would appeal to anybody who likes a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of a detective story, and maybe a little bit of science fiction thrown in.
Okay. Anything around the age group, though? Maybe for the people listening, is this a good book for this person, maybe?
I would say it's probably at least a PG-13.
Okay.
Because there is a murder. It does get a little bit dark. It's not particularly graphic. It's not particularly bloody or gory, but it's definitely not pleasant. And the language does get fruity. I tried to limit it to where it really suits the character and the situation, but there are some there's some explicit language in there.
Okay. Well, it's nice for the person listening going, who's this for? Who can I give this book to?
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine young people might enjoy it, but I don't think it would be limited to young people. I mean, I'm not young.
Yeah. So
it's something I would have enjoyed reading. So yeah.
So besides the comments that made you go back and revisit writing the book, what kind of positive things have you heard from people who have interacted with the book? What are you hearing back?
So I had a friend, someone I work with, I gave it to read one of the earlier drafts, and she told me she laughed out loud a few times. And I thought, that's fantastic. That's the best thing. And then I gave it to my daughter to read, and my daughter's an avid reader. And she said, yeah, well, I was reading it for a day or two, and then I got to the bit, I won't spoil it, but the bit where Bill realizes he's messed up his life and he has to try and fix it. Rachel said she stayed up all night to finish the book.
Well, there you go.
She thought, I wanted to know what happened. So I thought, well, that can't be bad.
That's good feedback.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I think I also let my wife read it. She was very curious to know what was going on. And I think my wife was one of the people that gave me the honest feedback. You know, she didn't think something was working, or she said that, this character wouldn't do that. So I got some pretty frank feedback from my wife. But
okay.
It's fun. You can't have too much pride. You can't be too defensive. You've got to take the rough and the smooth when you start handing it out and saying, what do you think?
I was looking at your website again. I love the website, by the way. Everybody's got to go take a look. It's beautiful. But you have a whole list of your characters, cast of characters from the book.
Yeah.
Anyone else that's like a key character that we need to know about in advance?
So the main character, I would say, the protagonist is Phil, and the antagonist is his old professor, whose death he investigates. Having gone back in time and prevented the death, his old professor then becomes the antagonist in the book. And then, of course, Holly is the girl that Phil's fallen in love with. So I don't want to spoil too much, but she's quite an important character in the book.
Okay. All right. And
there's so many. It's a little bit so many quirky characters that come and go. Somebody like the groundsman from the college pops up at the beginning, and you kind of don't know why, but then he pops up again later in a really important scene. It's kind of fun to bring characters in and out. Somebody that you think is an incidental character might come back again later.
Okay. And then Phil himself, what elements of Phil attract you as a writer to that character?
I think Phil's largely autobiographical. There's so much of me in Phil. I mean, he's a geek. He's a hopeless romantic. I think so much about him is maybe not so much who I am, but maybe who I wish I was, as much as anything. But yeah, it's kind of fun to put more of yourself into the characters. I think I like Phil's story in a way because he starts out lazy and not particularly engaged with anything. His big hobby is playing his chess computer. He doesn't go out much. He doesn't, so watching Phil turn into someone who actually wants to help his friend and wants to sort things out and solve things and do things with people, it's quite fun to watch him develop that way.
Okay, if you had the opportunity to do some time travel, Mark, where would you go? What time would you go to? Come on. That's fun to think of. I mean, there's all sorts of things that I would like to do. I'd like to go and watch the launch of Apollo 11. Maybe go and get a ticket and ride on Concorde. There's all sorts of things like that I would love to do. But yeah, it gets more profound if you try and start to think, what would you change? What would you go back and undo? And I'm actually in the middle of writing a Substack on the idea of time travel. So that should be available on Substack shortly. But it's kind of intriguing to think about the ethics of time travel as well. If you go back and undo something that was good for you, is that bad for someone else? And is that the right thing to do? So, the other element to it is, if you're happy where you are, would you go back and change anything in case it disturbed your timeline? Yeah.
Would you really go and change something? And that's the fun idea with time travel, I think, is that you can imagine what you might do. The classic is to, whether you would go back and kill Hitler.
Yeah, right.
And then you have to worry about, how do you know that would improve things, that nothing worse would have happened, Mm-hmm. It's like if Hitler was maybe just a symptom and somebody worse took his place and maybe even won the war, it's like, how do you know what would happen?
Right. It's that butterfly effect, right?
It is, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So it's really fun to think about, what you would do and what you shouldn't do as much as anything. Yeah.
Well, how about going into the future? Where would you go?
Do you know, I don't think I've given that a lot of thought. Yeah, that's a very good question. Where would I go? I think I'd like to go far enough to see if they ever do make it to Mars. I wonder if they ever will, but yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That's difficult.
Yeah.
What would I want to know? I'm not sure I want to know what's coming.
You don't know to know, right?
Really not
Because
sure I do.
having that knowledge and coming back to current day after going into the future would be really hard to sit on that.
It would,
right?
Yeah, and I mean that's the premise for Back to the Future too,
right? Yeah,
they go into the future and then they decide they have to fix the future. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to think what would be possible, but I'm not sure I would really want to know.
Interesting. Yeah, I think my default setting is to go back, and my hesitation would be to go forward. Because, I'm kind of caught in that. I don't know what I would do with the information I get if I went forward. I couldn't tell anybody. Yeah. I couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it strikes me as being a tremendous responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
Either going backwards or forwards.
Yeah, because if you go backwards, if you do something, it could have impact. If you go forward, when you come back and you say something, right, and you know something, it's not about doing, it's more about knowing at that point.
Yes, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
All right. What else? Everything is situated in around the UK and where you were from, right, as well?
Yeah. So Reading, where I grew up, is about 30 miles from Oxford, and the book is mostly based in Oxford. I think Phil takes a couple of day trips to Brighton. But yeah, most of the story is in Oxford. And we have various different characters from around the world that pop in and out because they come to Oxford, say, for a conference. We have an American student who goes missing. We have her Japanese colleague. But yeah, it mostly takes place in Oxford, which is one of my favourite cities. But being in America, of course, when you start writing about that city, you have to put enough detail in the book for it to be real, for it to be credible.
Right.
And of course, I don't know Oxford that well. So I spent a lot of time on the internet and on Google Maps and trying to work out, let me think now. And you have to do a lot more research because you're not physically there. And obviously it's not just a question of hopping in the car and driving over from DC. But yeah, last year we were in England, me and my wife, and we went on a Phil Beans walking tour. We walked around a whole bunch of the places that I'd written about, and we checked up on them. And of course, at one point, Holly goes to a bar called The Alchemist, and she goes to get changed in the toilets. I've never been in the ladies' toilets in The Alchemist, so I asked my wife when she went to the bathroom. I said, could you just check out in there and tell me for sure that there's enough room for a young lady to get changed? So, it was it's quite interesting trying to write about somewhere that you are not that intimate with. And some of the detail in the book, you really do need that.
Well, I'm glad that's a piece of information you don't know the answer to. If you had known that, I would have a question for you to follow up with. There you go. But
yeah,
interesting.
Well, I'm like Phil. One of the things in the book is when Phil needs the bathroom and the men's toilet in the pub is not working. They can't go in there. He does not want to use the ladies. So yeah,
there you go.
That's right.
Now I'll ask the question: if this has anything to do with the book that's not something you want to talk about, then please let me know. But his ability to time travel, Phil, is that something he knows that he has, or does he kind of stumble into that? Like, how does he even?
So Phil stumbled into it.
Okay.
So on Phil's 16th birthday, and this is a little bit of a spoiler.
Okay. Oh, everybody pay attention.
He, his mum has recently died. So on his 16th birthday, Phil is holding a Polaroid picture of his mum that he took 3 years earlier, and he cries. It's the first time he's cried since she died, and he wishes with all his might that he could go back in time just to tell her she was ill. And of course, when he wipes his eyes, he's not in his bedroom anymore. He's back where the picture was taken. And that's how he learns to time travel. That's his first experience. So he's using the Polaroid pictures that he took to be able to time travel.
Oh. And there's people who are going to be like, Mark, what's a Polaroid picture, right? Listening. And I'm like, so we may need to explain that to some. I know exactly what you're talking about, but.
I honestly, it never even occurred to me that people wouldn't know. So a Polaroid camera is that old camera that takes instant pictures. You know, you take the photo, and the photo comes out the front, and exactly.
Yeah,
people shake it, and then the picture develops as you're watching. So the ones that Phil takes take maybe 2 minutes to develop. And that's the idea I had, was that he would gradually dissolve where he is and develop like a Polaroid where the picture was taken. So that's kind of just an intriguing idea that came to me that really was the genesis for how the book came about in my mind, was that one moment when I realized that that's how he time travels, and that's how he gets to where he needs to be.
Is that exciting when that kind of unfolds for you and that idea comes to you and you're like, it's
still remembering that still gives me chills. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah.
Kind of unlocks the story for you. Now you have a,
because I didn't want him to have a time machine, a TARDIS or a DeLorean or whatever. It was like that. I've been there, done that. I wanted to try and think of a different thing. So yeah, it was fun when that moment came to me.
It's a eureka moment for you. Yay, you're a scientist. You have these moments all the time. Eureka!
That was my eureka moment.
Yeah, blinding you with science. I like that. It's amazing. Okay, so he gets to time travel. Does he time travel often, or is it like a one time in the novel where he does one trip? Is it
no? He does. I think, if I remember, I counted them up at one point. I think it's like a dozen or so.
Oh, it's
that he does. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's backwards and forwards because he keeps trying to fix things and realizing he's made it worse. So yeah, he's backwards and forwards through time a few times.
So there is a comedic element to this as well, right, in the writing?
There is, yeah. I mean, that was the intent, really, behind the book, was to write something fun, something a little bit intriguing, a bit of a mystery, something that would keep people reading, but also keep them entertained, where we can laugh at Phil and his situation, or laugh at some of the characters. So, yeah, I think that it's a lot of the point of the book was to make it fun.
Most of the scientists I've met aren't extremely funny. They're pretty straightforward and serious and to the point. So you have an element of your own story where that humor is really important for you.
I think it always has been. When I grew up, back in my day, Monty Python's Flying Circus was on the TV. I had to go to my friend's house to watch it because my parents wouldn't have it on the telly. But no, I've always enjoyed comedy. I've always enjoyed stand-up comedy. I enjoyed books where there's not necessarily laugh out loud, but yeah, the more humor, the better. Dark humor as well, particularly. So yeah, I think. At least if people don't laugh out loud, they should hopefully at least be amused by things. Right. Hopefully people will laugh out loud, but yeah.
Yeah, I love a book that, again, has that subtle humor, not over the top, kind of, like, yeah, I get it. You're trying to be funny. But I like it when it's like, oh, I get what you did there. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to read that
Well,
again.
hopefully
Right? I like
that's
that.
the kind of humor there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what sticks out for me. I like that.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that's the way it comes over.
I keep talking about your website, Mark, and it's just gorgeous. Can you tell me about all the artwork on your website? Because it really brings me into the story. I feel like from the, picture's worth 1,000 words, I'm seeing things, and it's just the Polaroid idea of the photos and everything. Just outstanding. Tell us more about your website.
So, when I was thinking about doing the artwork for the cover, before I found a publisher, I was already working on the artwork, and I discovered a website called Artlist, artlist.io, where they use AI, and they have, I don't know, a dozen or so different kinds of art, and one of them is called comic noir. And I just thought this would be fun to play with, and you can do stuff for free to start with, and I got some quite good results with it. I started out with the standard kind of thing that draws something that looks real, and I thought that's not right. That's not what I need. I need something different, something, because Phil isn't real. The book is fiction. It needs to be a little bit darker, a little bit cartoonish. And then I found this comic noir engine that does that kind of cartoon, and it really worked for me. It's just like, oh. So I described Phil, you have to write your prompt for the AI.
Yeah.
And it came up, and I just thought, wow, that looks like Phil. That's really great. So I just kept trying. The difficulty is AI is not particularly clever. It does draw people with 3 legs or 6 fingers. It really doesn't do a great job first time round, and there are many, many hours of editing pictures. For what it would come up with, I've done a lot of editing. So when you see the book cover, Phil has a camera and a bag. I took a photograph of my own, because I have a camera, the same kind that Phil uses, and I have a bag that I use. So I took photographs of those so that I could put those on the drawing.
Yes.
So I did a lot of editing, and then I chose a different background. So I had to cut Phil out electronically, on my MacBook, and then paste him onto a different background because I didn't like the background he was in. So so much editing went on, but yeah, that's basically where I get the art from, is from that Artlist AI engine.
I know that when I talk to authors on this show, the topic of your book cover is really important, and the publishers have their own ideas of what they want done on a book. How much, you had creative control then for the look and feel of the book?
Yeah, so the cover itself was a real team effort. So Joe, who's my publicist, had the idea that the cover needs to be a Polaroid, and Phil needs to be coming out of the Polaroid, like he's time traveled using it. And that's what we ended up with. So I did the artwork that went to the designer, and we told her what the idea was. And Michelle put the actual cover together with the Polaroid background, and then Phil sort of running out of the picture.
Smart.
And it works really well. So it was a real team effort.
Yeah, it's really
amazing. I like that. But it wasn't just me. There were other people smarter than me thinking of things and doing things and putting things together. I did some of the art, but then, it took all of us to get it just right.
So the artwork creation was ongoing while you're writing or after you were done writing?
Well, it was after I'd finished drafting, and probably during the final editing when I was actually convinced it was actually going to go somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. To see your characters come to life in images would be a great kind of moment for you as an author as well, right?
Yeah, it was when the when the AI came up with the image that just looked like Phil. It was like, oh wow, yeah, that's him. It was a really good moment. Really see him come to life in comic form.
It's good. Do you have a creative piece to you as a scientist and what you do
Yes.
day to day to come up with this
Well,
kind of...
not in my work, but
Yeah.
everything else I do outside of work is generally creative.
Yeah.
So I love model trains. So you're building something miniature, and you're building the scenery to go with it. So most things I do, there's a technical component and an artistic component. So,
Nice.
with model trains, there's all the electronics and whatnot that goes into, physical, making the train go. And then there's the painting it and decorating tiny little people smoking cigarettes like you used to be allowed to on the train.
Yeah.
And then I've done watercolor painting. I
Nice.
was a watercolor artist. I don't do that so much anymore, but I've also written music in the past, all sorts of different things that artistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really, what really fires me up is when both sides of my brain are working at once.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because I think a lot of times we equate a person to what they do for a living. So, Mark's a scientist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Mark is much more than a scientist. He's got this whole other piece of who he is. And, we don't always recognize that, right?
Yeah, I guess if it depends. If you know me at work, then it's like, oh, wow, you wrote a book. And if you know me at home, it's like, oh, you're a scientist.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. If you could spend a day with Phil walking around the streets of around Oxford, where would you want to go with him for a walk? Where would he take you?
I think if I could ask him to take me anywhere, I would ask him to take me to Westgate College, which doesn't exist. It's the college I invented for him to have. All the characters are Westgate College alumni. So yeah, that's what I would like. If I could meet Phil, I'd ask him to take me there because I've never been. I think I would love to have a wander around.
There you go. Excellent. I like it. Let's talk about the website again as well, Mark. Where do you want to send our listeners so they can come see some amazing artwork and connect with you and the book? Where do you want to send our listeners?
Yeah, so folks can go to markjwilson.com. Don't forget the J. There are so many Mark Wilsons in the world. I had to put the J in there just to narrow it down a little bit. So yeah, markjwilson.com. If you have a search around, like you said, you can find a list of characters, and there are some links in there that you can get to their own websites as well. And if you look probably on where the ad is for the book, and there's an Amazon link there so you can order the book, but there's also a link so you can download chapter 1 and have a little read of chapter 1 and see what you think of that before you go buy the book.
There you go. That's smart. Do you think there will be an audio version of the book at all?
I think so, yes. I'm hoping so. My wife and my publicist, Joe, they both tell me I need to do the audiobook. I need to be the voice.
So, okay, between your wife and Joe, whose opinion matters the most in that conversation? Come on. Be careful, we're recording this.
Well, my wife is definitely the
sorry, Joe.
The one that I would listen to most. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's good.
If she
love
said
audiobooks.
don't do it, then I probably
okay.
wouldn't.
All right. Okay. Do you think your voice will be part of that?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you think your voice will be part of the audiobook?
Oh, yeah, that I would read the book.
You read
that's
yourself?
the plan is for me
good.
to actually read the book. Yeah.
Excellent.
And I like the idea then that I would put the intonation where I think it needs to go, you know, and you'd say things how they should be said. And I'm quite liking the idea. I've given it a go. I've tried recording and I've listened to myself over and over, and I'm quite getting used to my own voice now.
Yeah. I think it's regal. I think makes me lean in to hear you talk, Mark. So I'm a huge fan. I'm with your wife on this, and Joe.
Okay.
My hands up.
Thank you.
I would love to hear this audiobook.
Well, my wife did tell me that my accent was half the attraction.
There you go. Well, maybe she can join you and do some of the other parts with some of the other characters. There you go. Bring her in. Bring her in too. There you go. I like that. Excellent. Mark, thank you so much for doing this, for being on the show. Congratulations on the book launch. I'm going to put it out there because I'd love to have you back as you keep writing. As book 2 is ready, come back and give us an update so we can follow the story. Yeah. And I'm going to go grab a coffee now because all I can think of is Phil Beans. So thank you for this. This is really great, Mark. Thank you for being on the show.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Thanks very much.
Everyone, all information as always in the show notes. When you buy, not if, when you buy this book from Mark, please go leave a great review. Mark would love to hear your thoughts about the book.
I would love that.
And why the story connected with you. Pick out something funny that you enjoyed, some of the humor, some of the story, and share that in your review as well. Other people will fall in love with it. Grab a cup of coffee, fill it right up to the top, fill all those beans up, and grab a copy of this book and read it. I'm sure you're going to love it. It might keep you up all night, right, Mark?
It might. You never know.
You just never know.
You never know.
Mark, again, thank you so much for being on the show.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.